As you may know, here in the United States, in the last couple of months, been a lot of issues surrounding the election and the inauguration of a new president, our new president, Donald Trump. And a lot of issues have arisen about who is telling the quote-unquote truth or not truth, who should say this, what kind of words should we use, what kind of discourse should we have, should it be polite and respectful, or, as some people say, if you don't like Donald Trump or who he is or what he does, you should resist in whatever manner makes sense to you. Recently, there was some press coverage here of there were two events, one in Berkeley, the other in Middlebury College, where someone was going to speak. These speakers were politically, socially, culturally, probably theologically conservative. One person was alleged to be very narrow-minded and kind of spiteful of other races and things like that. The other person was a social scientist who'd done lots of work with data, but his work, his conclusions that he found, didn't line him up with progressive opinion. Anyway, there were protests and pushings and shovings and the property damage in Berkeley and some physical shoving, and one of the professors at Middlebury walking with this speaker was hurt. I think she went to the hospital for a bit. All of these things are raising the issue of what's the relevance to politics and ethics in politics of the kind of words we use and the way we think and what we say. So the co-roundtables, you know, we think that ethics and responsibility are fundamental to politics. First of all, because how can we expect business and capitalism and markets to be fair and responsible if the political environment around them is corrupt, is abusive, is biased towards some particular family, elite, party, social class, et cetera, or just greedy, just crony capitalism. So we talked about a number of principles. Our core idea is that public power is really held in trust for the community. It's held as responsibility. It's not like a private thing that you can own for your own exploitation. Governments are here fundamentally to serve, not to exploit. So that's our starting idea. The first thought we then come to is that if a government is going to work to serve, to be a good trustee, to provide benefits for people, what does it need to do? It needs to listen. Politics needs to take place through the academic term is discourse, not through coercing people, not through ordering them around, but talking to people, thinking about ideas, thinking about facts, trying to study situations, listening to what various people want, letting people argue among themselves. So if discourse is the ethical way to do politics in government, then discourse requires some standard, some floor, some foundation of tolerance and free speech and free thought. If we don't have free thought, free speech, how are we going to get at the relevant facts? If no one wants to listen to anybody else, how do we come up with some aggregation of the common good, which works for you as well as it works for me, even though we have different ideas? Or in those cases where we have very, very different ideas, we really don't agree with each other, like two different religions. Does that mean we have to go to war and one of us has to win and the other has to lose, kill or be killed? Or is there a way in a political community that we can compartmentalize out our fundamental beliefs? You go to your church and I go to mine, and somewhere in the middle, if you will, or some common space, the village green, we can come together and talk about secular matters, such as sanitation or water or electricity or what time the market should open and close, and how do we tax liquor or do we sell cigarettes? All this kind of common good and goodwill and respect depends to some extent on our being able to use discourse, which then raises an ethical point for individuals, I suggest. Do we not have, each one of us, a responsibility to think well, to be open-minded, to look for data, to try to put together arguments, not just to use emotions, not just to dismiss things because, oh, that's a bad person, therefore his or her ideas have to be totally and completely wrong, and I don't have to listen to them, or I don't like so-and-so, he or she is obnoxious, or he or she is obsequious and whiny, So therefore, just ignore them. Maybe some obnoxious person or some whiny person actually has an insight into something that's important, the way our world works. Should we not therefore have a little bit of humility? Because humility, I think, goes in the direction of accepting responsibility. There are other people out there, and they count too. Anyway, I'd just like you to think about that and let me know your conclusions. Thank you.